Hey everybody. So we are in the last half of the last chapter for ANP1. And with that said, I want to preface the rest of these videos with the fact that we're not going to be talking about multiple slides at a time, and it may not look like a lot of information, and it may seem like I'm going to be going pretty quick through these slides. So please keep in mind that this is very specific information, and there is a lot of it. Right? So a lot of other times throughout this year, there were probably slides where you can go through 3, 4, 5, maybe even 10 or 12 slides and say, yeah, I know this stuff. I have to remember like 2 or 3 things, right? Oh, that's how that works, right? It's a couple pieces of information. Now we're looking at some information you may already have an idea of, but in more detail, all right? And then that detail has detail, and it keeps on going. So I'm going to not keep going on with this here, but what I'm trying to get to is please do not mistake the length of these videos for the amount of detail behind them. All right. So with that said, let's talk specifically about the peripheral nervous system. All right. So this is not the central nervous system. This is the peripheral nervous system. From here, we can break the peripheral nervous system down into 2 parts, right? 2 that we've already discussed: the somatic nervous system and the autonomic nervous system. So the somatic nervous system is what you control. Autonomic is what is being done for you, the things you don't have to think about. And you can see that right here, right? So the somatic nervous system is going to be voluntary, whereas autonomic is involuntary. You're not thinking about this. All right, but let's follow both of these flow charts so we can see the differences and similarities between the 2. So when it comes to the somatic nervous system, it is going to contain both sensory and motor divisions. So you can sense things and you can move around. Right? If you don't believe me, if someone slaps you in the face, you're going to feel it, hopefully. Right? If you go to slap them back, that's because you thought about it and your body's going to move. Right? Sensory, motor. Autonomic nervous system is motor only. So we're not going to have sensory roles specifically within the autonomic nervous system. Right? Not like we see with the somatic nervous system. That said, please keep in mind this chart here for somatic is only referring to the motor or efferent divisions. Remember, efferent is the pathway from the brain to the motor outputs. So for example, if I want to raise my hand, the efferent system or pathway is going to go from the brain to the effector. The effector in this case of me waving my hand is going to be the muscles in my arm. Right? So please there's a lot of terminology coming back here now. So that said, let's look a little bit more into peripheral nervous system. Somatic nervous system is going to be primarily skeletal muscle, right, on your skeleton, whereas the autonomic nervous system is going to be cardiac and smooth muscle, as well as some glands. It's kind of hard to see right there at the bottom. Oh, go back. Right. Somatic nervous system is going to have to do with one efferent neuron, one neuron that moves outward to an effector area, whereas the autonomic may have 2 efferent neurons. So you may have 2. Somatic are always going to be excitatory. They're going to allow you to do something. Autonomic may be excitatory or inhibitory. This is going to be huge later on because it's not always just, hey, how do I get this to work? There's a chance that those neurotransmitters' job may be to prevent something from working. Right? So excitatory versus inhibitory. And the last thing here, because we already talked about voluntary and involuntary, the last thing here is probably the most challenging part, is what neurotransmitters are being used. So the postganglionic neurotransmitters are always acetylcholine in the somatic nervous system. But in the autonomic nervous system, they may be acetylcholine or norepinephrine. All right, again, I just threw a lot of information at you. Please feel free to watch this video over and over again. You can cut me off right now if you want to do that. And take your time to better understand what's going on. Use the visuals to help you out. And if you have any specific questions, please let me know.